I currently live in St. Henry in my husband's great-grandparents' house, but I grew up in full recovery. And growing up, I was a three-sport athlete. So I lettered in basketball, volleyball, and softball growing up. And as a kid, I always dreamed that I would be able to teach my kids to be able to play these sports if they would want to. And then whenever my oldest son, he's 9 now, when he was 10 months old, that's when I lost my leg to a flesh-eating bacteria. I was in the hospital for 3 months, and I never once thought why, I've never asked God why he picked me during that time, because I felt like I could look at any certain person, any person that in my life that wasn't in my life, any person that I met on the street. I am the best equipped to go through this life that God has chosen for me, mostly because I feel like God prepares us in advance. I grew up, like I said, I was an athlete, but I wasn't just a natural athlete. I was somebody who had to work at what I wanted to become. And I felt like becoming an amputee was no different. I would have to work to become the best version of myself that I wanted to be. Of course, yeah, okay. When I played sports in high school, I traveled. I played traveling leagues for both basketball and softball, and I made loads of friends, some of which I have the honor of being friends with yet today. And those were some of the best years of my life. And I want to make sure I say some, because just because I have an ability that is different than what I used to be doesn't mean my life isn't absolutely amazing the way it is now. And then I began to dream of my future whenever I was 16, 17, 18. But God had a different version of my dream planned for me. I'm an amputee of 8 years. In 2015 is whenever I lost my leg. And I will spare you the majority of the details, as I was in the hospital for a long period of time, and I was 23 at the time, and I had 28 surgeries in 2 months. So at one point I had more surgeries under my belt than years I had been on this earth. But I will tell you that I got a rare form of this, and I was the 4th person in the United States to catch, or whatever, to get this strand of this deadly bacteria, and the only one to survive, which is a crazy thought to me, because I always wonder why God chose me. But I really enjoy the opportunity this has given me. After I lost my leg, I began writing. It's something, and I always didn't intend for stories to connect to God. I might be talking about a quote that I seen on the internet, and somehow through the 3 or 4 paragraphs that I wrote about, I was able to always come back to God as to why this is the way it is. And so I became the one-legged mom online. And I want to show the world that the main word in the word disability is ability. And there's so many things that people count differently abled people out on, and I want to be able to prove people who believe that wrong. But I was looking for a quote for a post I was making, and I came across a quote that says, "I don't need easy, I just need possible." And I was actually talking to a gentleman earlier today, and he wasn't able to make it to the banquet. And I was talking to him about this specific quote, and he says, and you know what? They always tell us in the Bible, it says, through God, all things are possible. He never said that life was going to be easy, but he has promised possible for us. And that kind of shook me, because that's literally how I've been living my last 8 years. I've written dozens and dozens of long-winded posts about my life and what I was feeling and thinking in certain moments, but nothing quite sums it up as those 8 simple words: I don't need easy, I just need possible. And do you know who said that? I don't know if you guys know Bethany Hamilton, but she was once a 12-year-old girl who had her arm bit off by a shark while she was surfing. A girl who didn't need easy, just needed possible, and went on to become a pro surfer, author, mother, and even had a movie made about her called Soul Surfer. She is literally living proof that no ability, different or otherwise, defines you. You get to do that. No one else does but you. Because you are not what happens to you, you are what you choose to be. And nothing can take that away from you. The possibilities are endless if you don't give up on yourself, if you don't count yourself out before the counting has even begun. And I know that can be hard, because you don't look like everyone else, you don't act like everyone else, or talk or see, and the world decides that you're disabled, so it can be tough to keep your head up. And I understand that, because let's be honest, living with a different ability is hard. And that's just putting it nicely. Things that others do naturally or with ease, like walking, talking, playing sports, or even just brushing your teeth, might be something that takes us quite a bit of effort to get accomplished. Something that is a 1-step process for someone else is a 10-step process for you. And I understand how discouraging that can be. Always having to plan out every aspect of your day just to be able to get through it. And I understand that it can be annoying, and I understand why sometimes we ask God why. Why me? Why my family? Because I still ask those same questions, and I'm 8 years in. With what I would call an amazing life with a husband that my husband and I have built together. I told you before that I had 1 kid before I lost my leg, and I had 2 after. I actually got pregnant with my 2nd child the same year I lost my leg. And I knew that my life would be different with having 1 leg, but that didn't mean that I couldn't still be Josie. I couldn't still be a mom that I wanted to be, still be able to help out on the farm. I had the dream I gave when I was 16 is the same dream I'm living now. I have everything I could have possibly wanted, and God has been so kind to give it to me. It was just a different path that I would have never expected. But it's okay to ask why to God. And you know why? Because that means you're talking to Him. And that is something we are lacking nowadays, an open, ongoing conversation with God. So it's okay to ask God why. And it's okay to go ahead and yell and scream at Him. Just always remember to come back. You must always remember that the question why is a 2-way street. Why me could also be a question that you ask when you see how blessed you are. Why me could also be something whenever you get to witness something amazing, like the first time you get to hold your brand new niece or nephew, or a breathtaking sunset that you know in the pit of your stomach that God painted just for you. When you meet a new friend, a buddy, for the very first time, and you and them develop a connection that you did not expect, you can ask God, why me? Because that is what I am asking Him right now. Why me? Why did the cards fall just right that led me here to all of you? And I'm not a Bethany Hamilton that underwent a shark attack only to come out on top as a pro surfer. I'm just me, Josie Wendel from St. Henry. But I did get to meet some of the kindest human beings on earth today. And why did God give me a day like today that I won't forget for the rest of my life? It's because God gave each and every one of us a purpose. He blesses us each and every day that we wake up. Are some days tough? Yeah. But He also built us to see the good in the tough days. For example, because of my situation, I'm raising my kids that don't know what a different ability is. Only that all people have different kinds of abilities. There isn't a person on earth that they wouldn't say hi to, or play with, or hesitate to help. And I thank God every single day for giving me that blessing. So I challenge you all to show your buddy and your friends and your family that you're here with today what a good thing that God has blessed you with because of your ability. If possible, don't stop there. Share your good, whether it was about today or not. And while it's true that in 1 Corinthians 10:13, it tells us that God doesn't give us a challenge we cannot face and overcome, we shouldn't get it wrong by thinking he won't throw big ones at us that we won't be able to carry alone. But that's when we have to have the opportunity to realize that we aren't alone. You could have absolutely no friends or family, even though I'm certain each and every one of you do after watching what had happened today, and not be alone. There will never be a challenge that you will have to carry alone if you let God into your life. I promise you that. But I will leave you with 3 reasons to think about as to why God puts us through tough situations in life. The first is to increase our faith. Faith is what we need in order to get closer to the Lord. Romans 12:3 shows us that God has dealt to each one of us a measure of faith. In order to increase that faith, we need to go through trials that gives us the option to put our faith in the world and in God. The second reason is it allows us to draw near to God. James 4:8 says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." You will never go through a challenge. You will either go to the world for advice, or you will go to God for advice. A God-given trial or challenge is another opportunity to come closer to God and seek your Heavenly Father and the Spirit of counsel for wisdom. And finally, it purifies us. John 15:3 says, "You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you." When you draw near to God through a season of trial and seek his word, it will purify your heart and cleanse your soul. The fiery trials purify us and allow us to see who God is. And here's one last word of encouragement as you go through your trials and tests of faith in this lifetime. And we know that through all things work together for good to those who love God, or to those who are called according to his purpose. His purpose might not always be crystal clear to identify, but I promise you that one day you will stumble upon it, or it upon you. Most likely when you least expect it. And it will most likely happen when you're putting yourself out there, out of your comfort zone, like so many people did today. When you are not letting your situation define you, but letting you yourself do that instead. You are all amazing people, each within your own unique, amazing abilities. And all I ask is that you never forget that you love yourself as you are, because how can you expect the love from others if you don't treat yourself right? God has brought some of his toughest soldiers to Coldwater, Ohio today, and we thank you for allowing me to be here as well.